So I'm having a little bit of an issue in the aquarium. Two issues actually. I'm not sure if they're related, um, but it is something that maybe has me a little bit concerned. So let's talk about the tank first. A little bit more diatoms, kind of hard to see because the blues are on right now. Nothing significant, nothing out of the ordinary. But I have noticed a few of these, which let's see if I can get a better angle on it. But I've noticed a few of these on the sand bed. Now, obviously, you can see that's a hermit crab. And, I'm not really sure if it's a hermit crab or if it's a molt. I started this tank with a lot of ghost feeding, and I do feed fairly heavily to try to maintain this cleanup crew that I have currently. And I've seen a number of these molts these past several days, but the number of crabs seems to be, as far as I can count, obviously they hide a little bit, pretty much what I had requested from my local fish store. So I'm fairly confident that these are molts and not actual dead bodies. When I've touched them and taken them out of the tank, they're hollow. They're not what I believe to be actual hermit crabs. And these will just sit on the sand bed until I take them out. And I have obviously several scavengers in the tank that that would, anytime any sort of pellet drops to the sand bed, or if I feed a few mysis shrimp, anytime anything touches a sand bed that can be eaten is eaten almost immediately. So I really think these are molts. I don't think the local fish store would have given me that many hermit crabs extra. I think I started with 7, and the number of molts that I've seen, it would essentially be that I would only have 1 or 2 left in the tank, but I seem to have been able to count 6 of them so far. And obviously trying to find them all at once is somewhat difficult. I've been testing my water. Ammonia's been at 0, nitrite at 0. Nitrate is about 5 parts per million. So my numbers seem to be where they need to be. I haven't really bothered testing pH. I personally don't think that with the corals looking as good as they do, that it could be a pH thing. My temperature seems to be fine. Like I mentioned, I was feeding mysis, and I am getting some bit of protein film on the top of the water. So I ordered a surface skimmer attachment from Amazon to potentially eliminate that issue. You can kind of see it looking up. Obviously the J-bow is off right now. But yeah, it's something I'm going to keep an eye on. Like I said, if these are actual dead hermit crabs, I think that they would have been eaten. But additionally, the number of these, let's call them molts, that I've seen is a number that would leave me with no, or 1 or 2 hermit crabs. So I'm really not sure. I noticed the other night, all of them were in that little cove. And I use a lunar cycle on my AI Prime. So I don't know if there was some sort of lunar event that triggered them to molt. And so I don't know. I'm kind of lost on this. The only thing that I could think of maybe is this mushroom here. I used the same sort of Reef safe epoxy to attach this to the rock, and according to the instructions, it is Reef safe and invert safe to use it in small amounts, and I used a very, very small amount. And what I've read from some different people who use different types of epoxies, whether it be the Fluvol brand or just any sort of general epoxy, is you don't want to sort of powder it up in the tank, because that could be harmful. And I took the mushroom out, put the small amount of epoxy on, and seeded it. And within hours of that, the toadstool looked pretty pissed, and the fairy dust pallies, which are now back there, look pretty pissed. And I'll link a video of the fairy dust pallies that night. I won't link it, but I'll put it in this video. And so I don't know, maybe that is what's causing the molting, although if I remember correctly, I had seen the first one of these before I had ever done the attachment with the epoxy in the tank. But at any rate, I think I'm just going to stick to super glue from now on because it was kind of scary. The fairy dust pallies look great. In the previous video, you'll see they're actually right here. And you can see in the video that their frag plug is sitting above the sand bed. And you know, I think what could have been irritating them in that video is the way the flow in the tank works. This area here is a little bit of sand, like very small, like 1 or 2 grains picks up, and I think there was some sand on the fairy dust pallies. So that's what I think was causing that. I haven't really noticed any significant loss in the snail population. The day that the snails arrived, it was extremely cold, and I do believe I had some DOAs, but you know, nothing significant where if it's affecting the hermit crabs, like, you know, it's not like all my snails are dead as well. So with the foam issues, we're hoping to potentially have that cleared up soon. I also ordered some Red Sea Coral Pro Salt from Amazon, and when I got the box, this whole container was cracked open here, and the bag of salt inside was open, and there was a lot of salt that was exposed to the air, and it rained that day. And I called Amazon, and they said they were going to send another one and ensure that it arrives safely. I'm keeping this as a backup, but I don't really know how safe I feel to use it. I noticed that some of the top layer of the salt was moist, and the top layer was quite warm to the touch. I've heard some people report that in the past that they've actually burned their hands from Red Sea Coral Pro Salt. Not significantly, but mixing it just heats up the water, all the chemical reactions. So I don't know if that means that this salt is usable or not. So if you have any opinions on that, let me know. Like I said, Amazon's going to replace it anyways, but you know, I'd like to maybe have some salt as backup. But quick look at the corals. The Xenia is looking really good. The mushrooms look amazing. Toadstool's doing really good. The green hairy mushroom is just continuing to get huge, and the fairy dust pallies look really good. I'm hoping to be able to test out my par soon, but the club's par meter for my Reef club is quite far from where I live, so you know, going out there, getting it, coming back, and then going out there again, I don't know how appealing that sounds. But yep, so there's the tank. You can see you got some hermit crabs munching on some diatoms. The diatom bloom is really not that bad, but you know, just a spot here or two on the sand and a little bit of dusting on the rocks. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully on the next video we'll have a more positive outcome for what's going on with our hermit crabs. So my Amazon package did come in, and it's an ST International surface skimmer, and I'm gonna see how I can install it on this Aqua Clear 70. Looking at it, I'm not confident it's gonna work. These fittings look really small, so we'll see how we can install it. And if it'll be. I picked up one of these Lee's veggie clips from eBay. That also came in today, and I've used these in the past with pretty good success for getting clowns to host. So I'm gonna try to wedge this kind of over there, and we'll see if the clowns end up liking it. So let's unplug this filter and let's see what we can do. The filter off. I'm going to turn the J-boat off just so I can see what I'm doing, and we'll try to do this as quickly as possible because right now there's no water movement going on. Right, so the surface skimmer has been running for probably about 6 hours now, and it's gotten rid of the film, which is great. It was a pretty easy installation. I didn't have to modify anything to make this thing work. I was a little bit worried because if you can see there on my AquaClear, see if I can zoom in. I dremeled the AquaClear 70 just a little bit because with my sand bed, the intake was, we actually didn't test it with sand, but it looked like it would suck a good amount of sand from, you know, it's kind of was just hovering above the sand bed. So I shortened it with a Dremel. And so the initial installation was kind of interesting, but I have everything sorted now. Like I said, it's been running for a few hours, and it's kind of weird how you set it up. If you can see there, there's a little hole, you can see through it there in the U, and you use that to match the flow of your filter. So initially I had it pushed all the way in so that there wasn't any sort of hole, and the filter was running dry, like it was sucking a lot of air. And if I click it out to the 2-hole setting, the filter doesn't work properly. So it seems that the 1-hole setting works the best. Twice since I've set this up, like I said, it's been up for about 8 hours. It sucked a lot of air bubbles twice, and I did turn down the AquaClear just a little bit. This device does slow the flow down just a tad from the AquaClear, and so I turned, I had the flow all the way up. Normally I keep it all the way down. So I turned the flow down a little bit, and it seems to be working pretty good. And for now, I'm pretty happy with it. I hope it's not going to be something that continues to suck air at random times. But initially, my initial review is that it's really, really nice filter, and you know, I'm running a pretty minimal mechanical filtration in the back, just a filter floss pad, and I got rid of pretty much all the gunk that was coming up there. You can see it's at work there. You can see the water coming in through the top. So I'm very, very satisfied with this purchase. Extremely satisfied. Now, you can see I also have the clip in here. It hasn't really seemed to get the clownfish to come near this rock, so I think I'm going to take this thing out and just use it for nori. One other thing, you can see the clown's bothering the leather right now. One other thing, I'm not sure if I mentioned in the earlier clip, but I did get the Aqueon replacement heater for the one that failed, the Pro. And I do need to put it in and send the old one back. But for now, I don't know, I kind of feel like just keeping this one. It's pretty much stayed at 78.3 degrees constantly, you know, maybe 0.4, 0.6, or 0.2. But I love the accuracy of this class one. And while I imagine the Pro is just as good, things are going really well right now, and I don't really know that I'm going to change it just right away. The Zinnia is doing really well. The Pallies are doing really well. The mushrooms look really great. I don't know why the crab is trolling the leather, but the leathers looked great all day. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully we'll figure out what's going on with these molts, or if they are actual hermit crabs. Hopefully we can figure out why they're dying. I just retested the water parameters, and pretty much the same thing as earlier today. We don't really use any chemicals around the tank, so I don't think it's anything like that. But we hope that we'll identify this issue, if it's a molt or if it's something that's killing the crabs. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and supporting the channel. I think we're almost at 200 subs, which is really cool. So you guys have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll be back for another update soon.